an early stage company, reactivity is your superpower. It's your greatest strength. But as you scale your company, that same reactivity that made you successful in the early days is going to be the death of your company. For those of you who are new here, I'm Brandon. I help small and medium sized businesses scale by aligning leadership, teams, and systems. And after working with dozens of founders over the last year, there's been a central theme that's emerged for every single one of my clients, and that is how to lead more intentionally and strategically or proactively rather than reactively. So that's what we're going to break down today. Specifically, I'm going to walk you through step by step how to get out of this negative cycle of reacting, of treading water, of feeling like you're working endlessly and tirelessly without ever going anywhere. In other words, we're going to try to demystify how to work on your business rather than in it. And if you're anything like me, in my first business, I consumed content for 2 years about how I needed to work on my business rather than in it. And it sounded great and I knew I needed it, but no one ever explained how to do it. So that's what I'm going to try to walk you through today, how to get out of the weeds of your business and start working on it so you can drive real progress and real growth. Before we go any further, we need to distinguish what it means and what it looks like and feels like to lead reactively versus leading proactively. After we define this, I'll give you a framework to follow so you can start implementing this today, tomorrow, yesterday. So bear with me, but we need to get clear on the distinction first. So, why does reactivity work when you're an early stage company? Simply put, you're able to react to market demands, customer demands faster because you're so lean, right? So if you're again anything like me at my first company, we were successful because we could sell before we built, right? Like we sold the idea of a thing and then just built it as we went. We were able to create custom packages, right? Like that was our unique value proposition is that we were customized and we could create tailored solutions. That shit doesn't work at scale. It does when you're early, right? And like the best analogy I can think of is like think about the holidays, like trying to coordinate schedules with your entire family. Like if you're trying to coordinate schedules with like your significant other and your kid, like fairly simple. But if you start adding in relatives, right? Like all of a sudden there's 6 people, 8 people, who's coming where, what time is everyone showing up, what's everyone bringing? Like the text thread's a fucking nightmare. The same thing is true in a company, right? As you start to add people, add complexity, like you can't simply react anymore. It all falls apart, right? So this is why we need to start thinking and acting and leading strategically and proactively and intentionally because we need systems that drive progress rather than just fly by the seat of your pants, figure out as we go. So more specifically, what is the difference between leading reactively versus leading proactively? So from a proactive standpoint, instead of fixing every problem as it arises. You are, from a strategic standpoint, you are choosing which problems are worth solving and in which order. Okay. So also instead of handling the work, right, doing the work, delivering the product, delivering the service, instead, from a strategic standpoint, you are managing the people who are now in charge of delivering the product, service, etc. Right. So you're a little bit more removed from the equation. And I mean, baseline, right? Instead of moving at a million miles an hour breakneck pace, you're operating a little bit slower, a little more deliberately, a little more intentionally. And so this space, the strategic space over here at its foundation requires time to think critically and creatively about the business and space to think strategically about your next moves. You fundamentally cannot, or at least it's really hard to do that when you are again moving a million miles an hour and you're buried in bullshit. Here's where this matters, okay? Because when you have the time to think critically and creatively, you have the space to strategize, you are able to better prioritize. Right, you are clearer in what actually matters. From every every business owner I talk to, they're like, honestly, like the long hours, like I'm used to. It's just the hardest part about owning a business and leading a business is knowing what is worth working on. You don't know what's worth working on because you haven't taken the time and created the space to think and strategize. So once you have allotted that space, you can prioritize, be more intentional with what you're working on. And here's the kicker, and here's where scale comes in. You have a team to manage at this point, right? So you need to be crystal clear as a leader in what is worth working on, and you need to be able to communicate that to your team in a way that does not leave any seeds of doubt or confusion. If you can communicate clearly those well-established priorities that are in alignment with the bigger strategy, Well, then now you got everyone rowing in the same direction, and all of a sudden we're making progress, growth, right? In a way that doesn't feel quite so heavy and in a way that has allowed you to remove yourself from the day-to-day operations. Here's the catch 22. Okay, because that is only possible, right? Thinking strategically, setting priorities, communicating clearly, if you have first been able to slightly remove yourself from the business. So again, if you've been able to work on the business rather than in it. So let's get into how to do that. Right. This is a framework that I use with all my clients. For reference, most of my clients are 7 and 8 figure founders, right? They're running companies anywhere from 1 million to 10 million in AR. They've got teams of 10 to 100. They're going through this rapid growth phase, and with that comes a fundamental shift in identity of both the company as well as the leader. And that's what I help them through. So this process is integral to what we do to set them up for success in this next chapter, right? Because fundamentally, each phase of growth requires a new identity. More or less, you're playing a different game, right? Like you're going from playing soccer to playing volleyball, right? Like if you continue trying to play soccer while everyone else is playing volleyball, you're going to keep fucking losing, right? So I help them understand that they're playing a new game, and I help them kind of rewire their systems and their identities so that they can play the right game and have a chance of winning. Okay, so there are 5 steps to this process. The first one is more of a mental shift, and it's kind of what I was just alluding to. The first step in this process is understanding that your success at this next level at scale it hinges on your ability to create clarity rather than your ability to hustle. That's a shift, right? It used to be hustle, now it's clarity, right? And so often my clients come to me and they're bought into this idea that they just need to do more of what got them here. I need to hustle harder. I need to work longer hours. I need to move faster. It's like that you're playing the wrong game. You can continue refining your ability as a soccer player, but you're never going to win the game of volleyball, right? You need to learn how to play a new game. And the rules of the new game is that clarity wins, not hustle. Once you have understood that and believe it to your core and have committed to making that change, the next step is to reimagine the vision of the company and your role within it, right? Because the vision that you started with probably isn't the vision that exists now, 3, 5 years later, right? Like the company has grown exponentially, you've grown exponentially, the vision has shifted. I guarantee it. It always does. Right. So you need to reimagine what the growth of this company looks like. And here's where most falter. Sometimes you have this like conceptual idea of where you want to go and why, but having the vision of where you want to go is great, but it's not enough. It's the first step. You need to also create a strategy that allows you to achieve that thing. Right. Like the vision's great. That's your destination. You need a roadmap for how you're going to get there, or else you're never going to get there. Right. So what I recommend is starting with a 3-year vision. Where do we want to be in 3 years? And then start to strategically reverse engineer it. So what needs to be true at 2 years that will guarantee that you hit three, more or less guarantee. Now, what is true at 1 year that will make the 2-year goal possible and the 3-year goal possible? What needs to happen right now within the next 90 days in order to make up the most ground to achieving year one's goal? Right? Like you need to reverse engineer this process so you know what is worth working on. And this comes down to fundamentally the theory of constraints. What is the biggest thing holding you back right now from achieving year one's goal? Right. And you continually ask that question at every stage of growth. What is holding me back from the next phase? Once you answer that, you can create the right strategy to solving it. Step 3, and this is obviously the most important thing. If you take nothing else away from this, this is the thing to latch onto. So once you created your vision, you need to communicate it to your team, specifically your leadership team, and do so in a way that inspires ownership. So bring them this vision and pitch it in a way that makes them integral to making it happen, and take it one step further. Have them create their own 3-year vision and strategy for their department, right? That creates ownership. That makes them the sole party responsible for the outcomes of this department. And when you have ownership, you have buy-in. And when you have buy-in, that means you have belief in where you're going, and it's going to inspire effort to get there. And that's important in and of itself. But here's the real thing to latch onto, guys. This is the key to scale. The key to scale is not simply delegating tasks, it's inspiring ownership. It's offloading outcomes to other people. When they own the outcomes, that means you are free and clear of the work that drives those outcomes. Instead, you are just there to monitor and manage performance. That is a fucking game changer, and it frees up your time, energy, and bandwidth to think creatively. Now, step Four is to create systems. What's the James Clear quote is like, we don't rise to the level of our expectations, we fall to the level of our systems. If you're going to accomplish what you set out in your vivid vision, in your 3-year vision and strategy, you need to create the systems that make those behaviors more or less inevitable. Okay, so I coach my clients to create two sets of systems. There's personal systems for you as a leader, and then there's company-wide systems. So systems as a leader, there's three that I recommend for everyone. And by systems, I mean s- basically procedures, rituals that you have in place that allow you to perform at your best, that allow you to perform with clarity, because clarity is our number one KPI. Okay. So, three things that I implement, have my clients implement that drive personal clarity, personal performance. Number one is a kind of Sunday setup is what I call it. So you use a 3-2-1 method. There's three things that you identify as your number one, as your top priorities for that week. Like if nothing else gets done, these three things need to get done. They drive progress in the business. There are two things. So the two in the 3-2-1, two things that you can offload, two things that you've determined are distractions, two things that you have determined are not within the 20% of work that's going to drive 80% of the results. Cut them, delegate them, whatever you got to do, get them off your calendar. The one is one thing that you can do, input into your calendar that drives personal or professional development, something that fills your cup, something that makes you a better leader. Okay. The second thing that I have them do is an end of day shutdown ritual, more or less. So clean up loose ends, set the calendar for the next day, just get yourself into the habit of being proactive rather than reactive. And the third thing is a daily Eisenhower matrix. So an Eisenhower matrix essentially, it's a 4-quadrant system. You rank what is urgent and important, what is important but not urgent, what is urgent but not important, and what is neither urgent nor important. So you look at your calendar and you chart it to make sure that you understand what is worth working on for that day. I do this every single day. All said and done, those three things each take 10 minutes each. So you're really not adding a whole lot of time to your equation. And again, this is the key to positioning yourself in a strategic standpoint rather than a reactive standpoint. So it's worth every second. Now, on a company level, and the systems that hold us into place. Specifically here, I'm talking about performance management systems. So systems that drive accountability, systems that track key metrics. Again, a couple things that I have my clients adopt right away if they don't already have these in place. Starting from long term and beginning short term. So long term, quarterly reviews, quarterly sprints. Honestly, So again, theory of constraints. What's the biggest thing keeping us stuck right now? Can we devise a 90-day strategy that attacks this thing with everything we've got? Okay, at the end of 90 days, we review how far we come. Are we satisfied? Cool. Can we move on? Or do we need to double down on this thing? So quarterly reviews, quarterly sprints. Within that, there's monthly reviews. So look at your KPIs, look at your metrics. Are we making progress? Are we making progress at the right rate? Are we even tracking the right KPIs or do they need to shift? Right. So this allows you to make sure that at the end of each 90-day sprint, you have been doing the right work. Okay. Within the month, you have weekly team meetings where, of course, the whole team sits down and you guys are making sure that everyone's rowing in the same direction. Okay. Within the week, you have daily leadership syncs. These don't have to be long, but it's a good opportunity for all the leaders to sit down and more or less just check in, make sure that everything is, again, going according to plan in alignment with each person's 3-year vision as they, again, align with the greater vision of the company. The fifth and final step here is to review and refine this process. All right. The systems mean nothing if you're not actually reviewing and refining. The systems are there to give you feedback, and you're of course the captain of the ship who is now taking that feedback and course correcting as necessary. Now, here's the fun part. Okay, you are still a small to medium sized business, which means speed is still an asset. It should be, right? You're able to, even with 10 people, even with 100 people, you're able to respond to market shifts faster than a major corporation with thousands of employees can. Use that speed to your advantage when needed. And when you have this level of clarity and these kinds of systems in place, you are actually able to respond more effectively because instead of it just being an ad hoc response and ensuing chaos. Instead, it's a measured response and it's a well directed and intentional response, right? That is so much more effective than just flying by the seat of your pants. Okay. Hopefully that was helpful, guys. There's a lot of information and it's high level. I walk my clients through this in a step-by-step process. We sometimes spend weeks on each part of this framework. So it might be a little overwhelming, but again, hopefully it's helpful. Hopefully it gives you guys some stuff to sit on and stew over. Now, if you're listening to this and you're like, holy shit, this makes a lot of sense, and this is what I've been battling with, but again, it's overwhelming. Like that's what I'm here for. All right. So a couple ways that you can work with me. I have a couple offers that meet you where you're at in this process. The best way to determine which of those offers makes the most sense is just to have a conversation with me. All right. So if this hits home and you're wanting more information on what this could look like for you, just either comment below or DM me the word peak. That's my framework. I'll walk you through it if we have a conversation, but DM me the word peak, PEAK, and I'll reach out. We can chat through, what the constraints are, what the future looks like, and see what would be a good fit.